Streaming now from KRON 4, the Bay Area's local news station.
Thanks for joining us here on KRON On. I'm Noelle Bello. We are heading to Oakland right now for a press conference in regards to the shooting that took place at Lake Merritt over the weekend. Let's listen in.
Things, particularly around the violence that we've seen in the city of Oakland over the last couple days, and talk about specifically the incident that occurred on Saturday at Lake Merritt. First of all, I want to say we don't believe that this was a random shooting. We believe that this was directly related to group and gang violence. And group and gang violence not even connected to the city of Oakland. This appears to be group and gang violence related to the city of San Francisco. We are working with the San Francisco Police Department, but we believe that individuals came to the city of Oakland and committed these violent acts. We did, however, make a couple of key arrests. There were several armed individuals out there, armed with firearms, prepared for conflict. We continue again in the city of Oakland to see far too many guns, particularly people willing to use guns in our city. And Saturday's events was one that people came armed for, unfortunately. Our homicide investigators have determined that the individuals responsible were multiple shooters, not just one. We've learned over the last couple of days that several people fired weapons during this event. Just to recap, on the evening of June 19th, we estimated there to be around 10,000 people around the entire lake. At about 6:22 p.m., it was estimated that in the 2200 block of Lakeshore, there was 5,000 people where the shooting actually occurred. We now have confirmed that there are 8 victims that were injured as a result of this shooting. They range from the ages of 16 to their mid-60s. We have 1 fatality and several other victims who are now in stable condition. The one fatally injured gentleman is a 22-year-old man from San Francisco. He was pronounced deceased at a local hospital. Due to the large crowd at this gathering and the traffic congestion, OPD directed several additional resources to this area. We originally had over 28 officers there to actually support all of the events that were happening at the lake. Again, there were multiple events happening in and around the lake. We brought in our additional sideshow detail that was actually funded by City Council's approval for additional funds specifically for sideshow 2 months ago. Those officers were redeployed from East Oakland, where we were anticipating sideshow, down to the lake to support our enforcement efforts there, beefing our numbers up to over 60 officers that were there at the lake in response to this large number of people that were gathered around the lake. We also had our Argus helicopter there, as well as help from the CHP helicopter. Although the shooting happened in Oakland, most of the people involved in this shooting were from outside of the area. It was hard to get first responders into the areas because of the congestion. Firefighters and ambulances who responded to this area, because of the amount of people, it posed extreme risk and hazards to those firefighters as well as those emergency responders. We also had groups of people that were very unsympathetic to the incident. The fact that we had several people shot and injured. We had people who continue to dance in and around the ambulances, preventing the ambulances from leaving the area to get people to hospitals so that they can be treated. But we also had some people that stood up, that actually helped out and helped open up traffic. We thank them for their efforts. We appreciate those that stepped up and helped us get the emergency services that were needed to the victims that were suffering. Immediately after the shooting, officers observed 2 additional men that were running from the area. These men were arrested and 2 additional firearms were recovered. Again, these 2 individuals, based on our investigation, do not appear to be associated with the actual shooting. They were 2 additional individuals that were armed with firearms and fled from our officers. There were a large number of firearms at the lake on that day. People continue to come to the city of Oakland armed with firearms. We have to make sure in the city of Oakland that we're communicating that it is not okay to come to our city with guns, to solve confrontation through the use of firearms. We encourage anyone that has information to share that information with the Oakland Police Department, video footage or photos that they may have. You can contact our OPD Homicide Division at 510-238-3821. I have Acting Lieutenant here to speak to you, Acting Lieutenant Sanchez here to speak to you about some of the follow-up steps we've had related to the homicide and shooting investigation.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. My name is Acting Lieutenant Leo Sanchez, L-E-O-S-A-N-C-H-E-Z. So currently, we're investigating a homicide, which we have a total of 8 victims, 1 deceased, 5 males, and 3 females were injured. All non-life-threatening injuries. We are now investigating a total of possibly multiple shooters involved. Many individuals that are injured are from the city of San Francisco. Our law enforcement agency across the bay in San Francisco, we've contacted their gang task force team, and we're communicating with our gang task force team, and we've come to an agreement that there seems to be some group or gang feud going on. It appears that they may have met or encounter each other during the festivities at the lake. We're taking a lot of information and evidence from the community, such as surveillance footage, both cell phone and surveillance footage from buildings in the area. Those are coming in slowly, but they're coming into the police department. We also have many community members calling on the anonymous tip line, giving us information as well. That's what we have right now. Any questions?
So,
yes.
2 San Francisco gangs involved, multiple shooters, and the 2 who've been arrested were not tied to this. So all of those responsible for the wounds and the murder are still out there. Do I have that right?
Well, that's a compound question. I'm going to answer it. So we have tied it. Some of the victims are tied to a gang or group from San Francisco. And the opposing party is likely also a gang and group from San Francisco. We have no evidence yet that's come to my investigators that there's any Oakland gang ties involved in this, in the actual shooting. The second question is the victims appear to be from San Francisco and elsewhere also, other cities outside of Oakland. The shooters have not yet been identified confirm the identities, but we're working that hand in hand right now as we speak with the San Francisco Gang Task Force team.
Are all the 8 people who were shot, do you believe that they were intended targets, or were those innocent people that were caught in the crossfire?
Again, this is preliminary investigation, and it's still in its early stages, but I think it's a little bit of both. I think some of the individuals that were shot and are injured, to include the individual that unfortunately passed away, I believe were targeted individuals. Those are the individuals that appear to be some gang or group connections with San Francisco. As well, there are individuals also that were just part of the festivities, part of the gathering, and were caught up in crossfire as well.
So just to confirm, 8 victims, including the young man that passed away?
That's correct.
Are you releasing his name?
No, we're not.
Any surveillance footage? I guess you've got a lot of cameras there. Is that being of any help?
It is being of help. We have some surveillance footage from people from their cell phones that were just videotaping the gathering as it was going, but we're going and combing through a lot more, and we're actually asking for a lot more because there's a lot of footage out there because it was a fun, festive, joyous festivity up until that moment. So we're asking those people to please share your video footage with us so we can comb through it and if we can find anything of evidentiary value that will lead my investigators to come and close this case.
Have you been able to interview the victims who were shot yet?
We were able to interview some of the victims, but a lot of them are still up in the hospital, going through medical treatment, and our plan is to interview every single one of the victims. But we haven't interviewed all of them, no.
How should people submit video to you if they're at the event and want to get it to you?
Yeah, so we'll be able to provide that. We actually have in our criminal investigation division, we have a tip line. You can submit videos. We'll provide that after the press conference.
And then
We'd like to, for right now, we'd like to have Reverend Demita from Ceasefire speak, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Demita Davis Howard. I'm actually the director of Ceasefire here with the Oakland PD. I started off as a community advocate, demanding that something be done about the violence in the neighborhoods and communities where I work and worship. This weekend was a tragedy. The kind of celebration that was happening around Juneteenth. My dad is from Texas. We live and breathe Juneteenth. It is about history. It is about cultural pride, this event was, and unfortunately, it was marred by gun violence, which we have been seeing all too often here in Oakland. On Sunday, I can't remember the date, but it's June 28th at 5 p.m. Me and other clergy and the city of Oakland and OPD will be gathering to do more and more praying for the violence that's happening in Oakland. You see that the Oakland Police Department is doing what they can to make the violence subside. Communities are doing what they can, and now clergy in the faith community, we are coming together, and if it takes an act of God to stop the violence here in Oakland, we're gonna bring it down. We ask you to join us. We know that Oakland is a place of pride and dignity, and this is not acceptable, not to those who live in the Oakland Hills and not to those who live in the flatlands of Oakland. The violence must stop. We want those who are either shooters and or victims of shooting to know that this community and this city loves them, and we will do whatever we can to help them change the trajectory of their lives, including praying for them day and night. And that's what Oakland is about. We're gonna reach out, we're gonna surround ourselves, but the violence has to stop. Put the guns down. We love you, and we want you to thrive and be successful. We want Oakland to thrive and be successful. That's why I am the director of Ceasefire, to talk to these folks who may be shooters or victims of shootings and to help them make decisions that will change their lives and change our city. Any questions?
Yes, Reverend, you touched on it there briefly. Could you please address what it means to have such a celebratory day just happening, focused down near the amphitheater and spreading around the lake, and then to have this kind of happen? There are tragedies no matter what, but to have it on Juneteenth and to have it break up, that's literally interrupt that. Can you talk about what kind of distress that causes, just, both there around the lake and in the broader Oakland community?
The kind of distress is that we should have a safe space to celebrate culturally, everybody. No matter whether you're celebrating Pride Month or Juneteenth, you want to feel safe in your community. The lake was that safe space to uplift what has happened federally, nationally, and what a lot of us celebrate. I've been celebrating Juneteenth for over 58 years. My dad is from East Texas. They live and breathe Juneteenth. My daughter was at the lake at the time. She had to cut off the celebration. This is something that is very, very real and deep felt to many African Americans who live here in Oakland, who live in California, and who live across this nation. So to have gun violence interrupt anything, whether it's you watching a movie in a movie theater or you're at a club or whether you're just at a spa, to have gun violence interrupt that kind of life living is just unacceptable. It disheartens me. I'm near tears to think that we could not successfully celebrate something that means so much to so many people.
Chief, can you talk about what role, obviously families are going to be going to, since this is the beginning of summer, they're going to be in Lake Merritt all summer long, celebrating one thing or another. What can police do anything to make them feel a little bit more secure, especially when this wasn't even a Oakland-bred crime. This was people coming across the bridge into your town.
Yeah, I mean, I think first to start off, we had 28 officers there to actually ensure that the lake was safe. We didn't anticipate that someone would come, or many people would come to violate this sacred space. Obviously, you know, this event meant so much to so many people who have fought for so many years that you would have thought that people would have respected that. But we did have officers there, and we have to be appreciative of the officers' quick response to address this. This could have been far worse than what had happened, and it's a tragedy, but it could have been much more tragic. There were so many more guns out there. We're thankful that our officers were able to actually respond quickly and apprehend at least a couple of armed suspects, but be able to provide the rescue services that were needed. I'll say again, you know, that you know, this city has to come together around public safety, and the leadership in this city has to understand that communities shouldn't have to feel the brunt of this violence every day, that they live with this every day, that someone will potentially start shooting. We have to, in Oakland, you know, eliminate this stigma that this is a place that you can come to armed and commit violent acts. You know, the resources that we had out there, we wouldn't have had those resources 6 months ago. We wouldn't have these resources if budget things that people want to push forward in the city, if they come to fruition. We won't have the resources to actually bring forth the safety needed to ensure that events like this are safe in the city of Oakland. And so I think this is a call to all of us to recognize the need for public safety, because this violence is not just affecting Oakland, this is happening across the country. We're seeing mass shootings across the country. Yes, this is a mass shooting as well. Multiple people shot is a mass shooting. Thank God that we didn't have a large number of lives lost as a result of these events, but that could have been catastrophic, what we've seen happen Saturday. And so we have to always consider the fact that people are armed in our community, that there needs to be officers available to be out there around the lake. There's been mixed messages in this community. Several people who said they didn't want officers around the lake. But we see what can happen when you have large crowds of people and you don't know if they're armed or not. Conflict can happen and bullets can ring out and they can hit innocent people. And so that's our challenge in the city, is how do we balance public safety, understanding the importance of having officers there to respond to events like this. I'm thankful that our officers were available, that we were able to quickly send them down there so that we can prevent more loss of life.
You're speaking directly to the
Okay, hold on one second, let's just go one at a time. Go ahead.
So Chief, before you know it, it's going to be July 4th weekend, which falls on a weekend. You know folks are going to go out to the lake to party. You know vendors are going to be out there. What's going to change in terms of crowd control? Because you said so yourself, a lot of the folks, a lot of the victims, and the people involved in the Juneteenth shooting were not from Oakland.
Well, what we're going to do is be out there in force again. We'll have additional officers out there. We'll be prepared. We'll have a big contingency of law enforcement's presence. We'll deal with some of the things that weren't managed this weekend. I mean, we have to deal with the reality that we hope people come to our city and that they behave in a peaceful way. We hope that they will be in a celebratory fashion, but if they're not, we need to be prepared to respond. We need to ensure that everybody at the lake feels safe. I want people to know that you are safe in Oakland. And as the police chief, I'm going to use every resource I have to make sure that you're safe. So we'll have resources there for the 4th of July. And whenever we have large contingencies of people at the lake and around the lake or events, we will have officers available to be there in support. We can't prevent people from pulling out firearms and using them. I think, to Reverend Demita's point, I think is community has to come together to deter people from participating in this activity. Oakland is not okay with that. This entire city is not okay with this level of violence. We don't want to see it here. We condemn what happened Saturday. We don't want to see it happen again. And so our message is that we will be out in full force, but not just with law enforcement, also with community. We need more community volunteers to come out and support these events as well.
We have another question over here.
Chief, I just wanted to clarify, because I may have misunderstood. You said about 28 officers were already at the lake because of the large amount of people
Yeah.
that were then. And then you said your numbers would lead up to a total of about 60 officers when sideshow unit was brought in. Was that after the call of the shooting, or was that also before the shooting occurred?
That was also before the shooting occurred.
You had about 60 officers in the area of the lake in general.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When the numbers reached as high as around 10,000, there was a need for additional resources. So we reallocated those sideshow resources to come down and support the team that was already deployed at the lake.
Chief, any idea how many shots were fired
Not a total number at this point, but that's what we're looking into based on our ShotSpotter information and all of the things that we hear from community. I mean, I think that's what's key, the video, right? Because there are things that we don't know. You know, these pieces to this puzzle are put together by people providing us the information that they have. And I hope that everybody wants to find the people responsible for this. I think we all have an obligation to ensure that people don't get away with this, that we don't say that this is okay, that we feel like there is no need for somebody to be held accountable. At the end of the day, somebody lost their life. And I think that should all concern us. It concerns me that in this city that we don't talk enough about the loss of life. 60 homicides in the city of Oakland, and we don't talk about it enough. We talk about so many other things other than people's loss of life. It's sad that when we talk about the vast majority of them are people of color, are minority, are African American in this city, and we don't have meetings about that. That we're not meeting about the death that we're seeing every day on our streets. That concerns me. And so I hope that when we see these things happen, that everybody feels sympathetic to the idea that young people in this city are facing this violence every day, and there's no conversations about how we can improve and make this city safer for them.
And Chief, 60 officers for a crowd of 5,000, is that enough for you? And the reason why I ask is because you know that's council member Nikki working out of Bass's district, who's proposing some amendments to the mayor's budget, which would include cutting down some of the police academies that the mayor wants. So 60, that's the best you guys can do for a crowd of 5,000. What's your message to her?
Well, I don't think it's a message to any individual council member. I think it's a message to our city about the need for public safety. And it is simply saying that I don't believe that you can police your way out of a problem like this. That if you put 100 or 200 officers, it doesn't mean that somebody won't do something dumb. Doesn't mean that somebody won't pull out a firearm and use it. But what it would mean is that it is a clear deterrent to those that want to come into our city with firearms. I can tell you this, that there was more than just a one person or a couple of people who fired those guns that were armed at the lake. There were several people armed at the lake. And that's the difficult issue that we have in this city, is that more people are arming themselves because they feel like they have to be responsible for their own safety. They should be able to rely on the Oakland Police Department.
Yep. This will be it. This is going to be one last question. The Chief's going to wrap it up. Okay?
Thank you. Chief, if there's any more detail that you can offer or the lieutenant can offer, we're saying that this is preliminarily looks like a gang-related shooting based on SF-associated gangs and groups, as you said. Is there any light that you can shed on a preliminary motive at this point? Like, was this a retaliatory shooting from something else? And is there any indication that there may be a retaliation for what happened at the lake, with these groups that you guys are looking into at this moment?
Well, I don't think we have enough information at this moment. I think that's why we're working with SFPD to better understand the dynamics of what's happening in San Francisco that may have led to this shooting in Oakland. So those will be things that we'll continue to explore.
Thank you, Chief.
Right.
Has there been any connection made to any of the shootings in the city?
Hold on one second. I want to ensure that we're all on the same page here. Okay, have you asked a question yet today?
Just one question, exactly right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so after this, we're absolutely going to cut it off, okay? All right, we've been here a long time, we've discussed a lot of things. I don't want to repeat the same questions that have been asked and answered, so go right ahead.
Just about the gang too, just trying to see if there was any connection to any shootings in the city at this point.
Not specifically, but what we know is that this, based on the preliminary information, that this is connected to a group and gang out of San Francisco. I think that's, some information that we've confirmed. I will say that we have seen an increase in shootings in the city of Oakland connected to San Francisco group and gangs. And so this is not the first San Francisco-related group and gang shooting we've seen in the city of Oakland. This is a problem we've been trying to manage for the last several months.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.